Good afternoon, everybody. Hope you're well. I'm Mel from Sussex Social. I'm a social media coach consultant who helps busy businesses and business owners navigate the world of social media and learn how to tell their story in a way that positively impacts their business. And I'm here with Jodie Newman for take 2 of our LinkedIn Live, which dismally failed on Friday. I will let Jodie introduce herself, but we are here to talk to you about how being more creative as a business owner can positively impact your marketing. So, Jodie, over to you.
Yes, so Jodie Newman from the Business Allotment, and we're all about helping businesses grow through a very creative approach to strategy and putting ideas at the heart of everything a small business should be doing.
Okay, so tell us a little bit more about the Business Allotment, because I know from the moment I met you, I was just like, I just love the name and the idea.
So yeah, it's all about growth, and I think I built the allotment on the belief that great ideas grow businesses. That's how you start and maintain momentum in your business. That's how you get yourself on a growth path. I think for me, ideas and creativity is one of the biggest levers you can pull in a business to create that forward motion. And one of the critical things, and I think this touches very much upon what we're going to be discussing, ideas allow you to put fresh air between yourself and everyone else in your industry, because you're doing something different. You've got something fresh to say, and the way you're doing what you're doing is, potentially unlike pretty much anyone else in your industry. And I think that's really, really powerful.
Yeah, I think there's some truth in that. So I wouldn't really where I wanted to start with is what is creativity, because myself and I think a lot of people, when we talk about creativity, we think about it more in the traditional sense. So we think about branding and logos, and a lot of people say to me, and I've said this myself in the past, actually I'm not very creative, but there is a little bit more to it than that, isn't there, Jodie? So do you want to kind of explain what that means
Yeah.
in a business context?
I think I think it comes about through our education, possibly, that when we think about creativity, we think about drawing. Well, I can't draw, ergo I'm not creative. And it's nothing to do with that. Creativity is about solving problems in new ways. It's
Yeah.
about pushing those boundaries somewhere that you haven't thought before. And, being creative is all about allowing yourself to be curious, to do that divergent thinking.
Mm-hmm.
So options, not, and I think we're all, as business owners, got a problem, solve it, move on. We're on that hamster wheel of doing, and doing as a brain state is the worst place you can be to generate ideas, because you need a bit more time to be, as I say, be curious, to allow yourself to get into the flow of creativity. And you really need to park up your critical sort of thinking skills. And that's really difficult for business owners, because we're constantly in that assess and move on framework, which is not where you should be for creativity in those early stages of coming up with ideas, whether that's for products, services, or marketing.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of truth in that, because we're all, I think, particularly small business owners, we're all guilty of working in our business rather than on our business, aren't we? And I think that, and I feel like this, like I really have to kind of sort of rein it in sometimes almost, and be like, no, don't just put stuff out there for the sake of it. Think about what you're doing, think about where it's going to lead, what the idea is. So how does that kind of approach, really sort of having the ideas, how does that impact on our marketing? So see, that's what we're here to talk to people about today. So what do you think are the main sort of benefits of creative thinking and taking that time out, and how that can impact on how we market ourselves and ultimately our sales?
Yeah, well, marketing and branding, for me, when you dig down through the layers of kind of, what the outcomes want to be on a day-to-day or week-to-week or month-to-month basis, it's about, sticking in people's minds. It's about creating memory of your own business. And creativity allows you to say something different, or explain what you're doing in a fresh way. And it's not necessarily about being bold and brash and loud. It's about having the confidence in the ideas you're putting forward in kind of in any way you want, to really connect cleanly in customers' minds. And I think if you can put ideas at the center of what you do and create a really compelling idea, whether that's how you tell your brand story or the products or the services that you are putting out there. If you are ideas first as a business, people get excited about what you're doing because it's different. You're saying it in a fresh way. You're doing something different, and I think people respond really well to that because they understand it.
Okay.
Different to everything else that's going on around you.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting point. I mean, I think for me, having that kind of creative and ideas process, it enables you to potentially learn from your audience and actually take a step back and kind of research what they want, which modern marketing, which is all about storytelling, is brilliant for that, because you can find out so much information from just scrolling through here on LinkedIn, looking at Instagram, looking at the questions people are asking. One of the things we talked about as well is really, and I think you just touched on, is like sort of making yourself and your business memorable. And that can, that does have a positive impact on your bottom line. It might not be overnight, but because, as you said, people will remember you at the point of purchase. And I think you made a really good analogy about beans, which we'll share in a minute. But it was one of the things I was reminded, actually, a long time ago, pre-pandemic, I used to do a lot of in-person teaching. And, I don't know how many brands of washing powder there are in your average supermarket. I think the average supermarket has 127,000 different products or something like that. Ultimately, all of those washing powders do the same thing. They wash our clothes. But there's a lots of different reasons why most of us will go back to the same product. And I think there's a lot of reasons around that. I mean, it's always a really interesting question, isn't it? When you say to people, what brand do you like? And then you say, but why do you like them? And I think for a lot of us, we can't necessarily articulate that.
Well, I think also there is a piece around, we like to think that we rationally choose brands, whether that's in our own business to work with or to supply us, or in our, kind of the other bit of our life, because we like to think we're rational humans, and we look at the cost and we look at the features and the benefits and the kind of the promises that brand makes. And that's all well and good. And then secretly we've fallen in love with a brand story, and that's why we buy it. But we will rationalize it by logical frameworks, because no one wants to be, so many times I've heard people say to me, well, I don't get swayed by promotions and free things. It's a lie. We do. And I think part of that being creative about your brand story is, digging down. And I work so often with clients to dig down and find the difference. What is the difference about you? And that's a creative process to find that out. We are really bad as business owners in identifying our own difference, creating our own standout. We're too close to it. A lot of creativity is about perspective. And as business owners, we have an inside out perspective. We know our businesses inside out. That's what allows us to run them every day in a really, really quick and smooth manner. Inside out is the worst creative perspective. You want outside in, which is why, I work with clients to kind of almost take them around the back of their business and go, now look. And they're like that. Ooh, yeah, I've never seen it like that from here before. And it's the same with creating a brand story, or, where you're going to sit in your market, the marketing ideas that, then fall out of your story. You've got to have a creative approach to that, because otherwise they become, just one of the tins of beans that use similar colors, similar fonts, similar photographic treatments. And of course, I'm not talking about businesses that sell beans. I'm talking about every single business that sells a product or service to another consumer. And, I don't really buy into well, I'm B2B, so marketing's a bit different from us. Is it though? You don't market to a building. I don't go and shout my brand story at a load of bricks because inside there is the business I want to sell to. I sell to another human being. Stories are our currency. So creating that amazing story using rich ideas and metaphor and all those things that come out of the creative process allows you to create that emotional connection and create that standout. So your tin of beans, which is neon and cubed and whatever else it is, and there's a reason for that. I'm not talking about arbitrary, I'll tell you what, if I wear a funny hat, that's my difference. differences that are rooted in the beliefs you have, the quest you're on. You know, my difference in the allotment is a creative approach to strategy. I didn't pluck that out the air. That's because creativity is the most important thing in my life. Sorry, kids. It is the most important thing in my life. You know, another person doing a similar job to me will be focused somewhere else with their story. You know, it's about finding what is truly something you own as a belief or a mission, and you know, using creativity to build that into a story that connects emotionally with people. So they go, I am on board for that ride, or not if you are the last person on
Yeah,
earth. And that is equally as wanted as a response,
yeah.
because you know, for me, the worst thing someone can say to me about my brand story and, you know, the marketing and content I do is, well, I can take it or leave it. You don't want apathetic audiences. You want lovers, and therefore you will get some haters, and that is fine. Know who your brand clan is.
I think that's really fun. And I think one of the things that I think really impacts on our marketing is, and this is one of the two terms I really dislike: personal branding and authentic or authenticity. I know, but you know, and you try and find words to
I
replace
know.
it. And it is, I am a little bit does what it says on the tin type person. And but I think as a small business, like this kind of creation of a story and creative approach actually can sound quite scary.
Yeah.
But I think it's almost easier for us to do that work and have a positive impact on our marketing, because we've not got to get buy-in from you know, thousands of customers or key stakeholders or everybody within a large organization.
That's
We
right.
can almost kind of create that message and story from scratch and, you know, make it our own. So
Yes.
what's your kind of take on that? Do you
Yeah,
think
and
that
I totally agree. I think some people, you know, trouble is with all these things, you know, story is probably one of the least corporate words you can use. You know,
Mhm.
I mean, what, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, what's your USP, your proposition? It's like, you know, that was impenetrable for small business owners going, US what? What do I
Yeah.
need? What am I supposed? You know, we all tell stories. And I think,
Mhm.
you know, it's for me the least kind of alienating way to talk about a business owner who needs to talk about what they do, you
Yeah.
know. But what we're trying to avoid is, you know, reading off of a restaurant menu. Here's the transactional things that I do. The reason that, you know, you apply creativity to telling an amazing story and putting out amazing content and doing amazing marketing is that exists on a value added platform which sits above transactional. You know,
Okay.
you know, we can all market, this product costs X, this product costs Y, this service is, you know, £300, this service is £5,000. Great. But if your marketing is all focused around there, you are just going to have conversations about price. If you are engaging people emotionally with a creative story that talks about why you're doing it, why it's important, you know, the benefits driven outcomes of what you do, you'll be having a very different conversation with your prospects.
Yeah. Do you know, I think that's really interesting. I was actually having a conversation with someone here on LinkedIn this morning about this, and I did a survey a few weeks ago, and one of the questions was, I can't remember the exact, was why haven't you? I think it was, why haven't you invested money in your marketing or social media? And the number one thing was cost, because I think
Yeah.
that's always the default answer for people. And the second was, I haven't found anybody I trust enough to do this, because the majority of these people are small business owners.
Mm.
And I thought that was interesting because it's very, very honest. But it, from kind of the purpose of me showing this, is it really highlights the importance of that emotional connection in that story, because actually, you know, I think for most of them, cost was the default answer. And when they dug a little deeper, it was like, well, actually, no, that's because I want to fight. I mean, some of these people I don't know at all. They just kind of signed up, and you know,
Yeah.
it's really around kind of digging that bit deeper. And as
I
you
think-
said, not everybody's going to buy from you. And I think that's absolutely fine. So one of the things that I think we kind of touched on is kind of creative ideas, and how do we do the research and implement them? Because I know from speaking to people at the IP library here in Sussex, and they have amazing sort of resources for market research. And they said the biggest thing they find is that business owners launch an idea to market, but they haven't actually evaluated it or thought about what people want. So do you want to give us some tips around?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I deal with a lot of very small business solo owners, and I think, we can all go down the proper marketing channels of proper research, focus groups, but it goes back to budget. People just do not have the budget to do that very robust piece beforehand. So you're using kind of a blend of instinct and experience to create new products, sparked by a couple of conversations that you have with clients or whatever. So I think, if you're looking to create some new products or services in your business, you go through the creative process, use creative thinking tools to actually not formalize it, but just give yourself the best chance to come up with the best idea. Then, there are some very simple techniques to evaluate a pool of ideas. Everything from kind of the traffic light system, which is, every single idea. When I work with clients and I do idea generation sessions, we'll have 600 ideas, to solve that business challenge. So, you do it large scale. But if you've come up with 30 ideas in 30 minutes, which should be absolutely doable for anyone if you've got some structure around how to create, some ideas and those creative tools, then you could just use the traffic light system. Red, they're a no-go idea. Green, yes, they're on the short list. Amber, got potentially needs a bit more work. Then look at your 5 success criteria and judge each one with your best kind of outcome guess on those criteria. So you're already picking the ideas that have the best chance of survival. I do a thing called stakeholder compass. Who are the key stakeholders for this idea? Obviously your business, but within that, there could be your brand, your bottom line. There could also be your clients, your new clients, your prospects. All these people touch this new idea. So what are the positive and negative impacts on each of those? It doesn't take budget to evaluate and do a little bit. Go and talk to some of your lovely clients and get their feedback. Lots of us network. Pick someone in your network that you can kind of trust to give an honest opinion. Ask them. But at the end of the day, as a small business owner launching an idea, you're not launching it perfect. You're launching it good enough. You're putting it out there. You're understanding how you're going to measure and test it. Then you measure and test it. Then you tweak it. Then you put it back into market, and you evolve as you go. All the best ideas are those that you tweak and evolve and finesse and take feedback from and then tweak again. That's the process we should be looking at involving ourselves with.
I think that is a really, really key point. And it was the one we talked about in our Vanished Live on Friday. But I think I've done it. I know lots of people that do. We have a great idea and we validate it. And other ways I validate things is just quite often reaching out and asking people who might be interested. Can we just have a conversation about this idea? And but I think we launch things, and I think this is the difficulty with a lot of small business owners as well, is a lot of us are quite like, we have 1,000,001 ideas and we just want to get everything out there, and we need people like you to rein us in. But I think people launch things to market and they don't assess properly how that does impact their marketing. So they think, I've launched this product and it hasn't sold as well as I liked the first time, perhaps, and I've put all of this energy, money, headspace, time, all of those things we do into the launch. So, I'm just going to can it. And I think actually when you look behind the scenes, you need to look at like the ripple effect that has. So what are the other things that were going on? So for example, like I've launched a group program in the past and it didn't sell as well as I wanted, but I got a lot of more one-to-one inquiries off the back of it. So it's all of those things like that. And then that enables you so that comes back to, how does that impact your marketing? So looking at the ripple effect and kind of doing the opposite of the ideas is actually where we're kind of measuring things, but also doing the kind of listening around that to see what the feedback is and what people think. And then you can go away and tweak and refine, as you say, and just,
I think, if you are, sticking your toe in or knee deep or up to your eyebrows in, putting creativity at the heart of what you do and coming up with ideas, and, it is in the sweet spot of so many business owners. You cannot cleave failure apart from creativity. It's part of the process, and there are degrees of failure. Like you say, well, I only sold 5 places on that course, or I sold none, or I only sold 1,000. But so it's all degrees of. But creating ideas, implementing them, testing them, measuring them, I think always somewhere has a positive impact on the business. The learning you get from it, and also to be seen as a business that tries ideas, that comes out there. You will gain fans from all this kind of fresh stuff that's going, and you are never going to have 100% hit rate with your ideas. You're just not. I mean, the big brands don't do it, and I think the problem we have as small business owners, we have neither the time, the budget, nor the patience to keep iterating and reiterating ideas. We go, idea, launch, failure. Oh my God, never speak it again, move on. And you've lost so much potential in that approach. Whereas, I think spending some time with it and allowing it to kind of evolve, and, or just, saying, actually, that was an abject failure for these reasons. With my membership group in the Business Shed, we throw crap on the compost heap every month. What's gone wrong? Because we all have stuff, big or small, that goes wrong. The trick to make it valuable is to say, well, what was it that went wrong? Was it something I could control? What could I do differently next time? Don't bin the idea, bin the approach, or bin the particular tactic you took. And when you're, talking about launching marketing, there are so many movable parts in that equation. You can't possibly point to one thing confidently in the first time it didn't quite work and go, well, I think it was that, and it is about test and measure.
Yeah, no, I think there is. And I think one of the things that, is that, look, these things, they don't happen overnight. You're not going to have a brilliant idea and then get it out to market in a week, particularly if you've got limited resource. That just isn't the way that happened. But during that time, you can build your idea, you can evaluate, you can kind of speak to people, and you can continue to tweak things. Although I think some of us can be a bit guilty of constantly tweaking things and never getting them out there. So
yeah, I do think, which is why I sort of said, never strive for the perfect solution to put out there. It's just got to be good enough. We're our own worst enemies when it comes to kind of critiquing what we're doing. And, it's like, in your own house, you spot the crack and the bit of crap in the corner and this, that, and the other. And someone else walks in and goes, oh my God, it's amazing, because they're not seeing what you see. And this is the whole inside out perspective that can be quite dangerous, because you're constantly trying to finesse stuff that doesn't need finessing. Finessing is not testing. Finessing is fannying around. Get it out. Get it tested. Yeah, that's right. Because while you're tweaking and shaping, and it means you're not having to put it out into the marketplace, which means it's a brilliant idea still. And it's worked, because in your head, that's what's going to happen to it. When you get it out there and no one buys your, I don't know, whatever, jelly back scratcher, or, whatever it is you're launching, it will remain a brilliant idea while you've not put it out to market. Creativity does take a bit of bravery. You can say the same as everything. Look at any category, be it, milk, washing powder, social media services. The safety is in saying the same thing as everyone else, because people expect that within that category. You need a certain amount of bravery to say something different. But my God, does that bravery pay off? But you do need to have a little bit of kind of that ballsy, right, I'm going to try this new idea. I'm going to say something different. I'm going to do this differently. I know I use this tool with clients where we're looking for their difference and how to create that standout and putting innovation at the heart of everything. And It's about disrupting the category in the industry you're in. How does everyone do it? How is everyone expected to do it? Well, what if we did exactly the opposite to that? That might lead itself to an idea that you think is utterly preposterous. Well, if everyone charges by the project, what if I don't charge at all? You think, well, that's a ludicrous business proposition. But actually, as part of the creative process, you accept that as something that you can build on. All right,
Yeah.
well, maybe I could build on the fact I'm not charging by project, and it could lead you down some really interesting routes. That's what part of being brave is be going, all right, let's embrace this as an idea and try and make that work. And it may lead to nothing, but it could lead to something quite spectacular. I always find the stuff that makes people go, is sometimes the bit where the creative gold lies, where you say it out loud and you sort of, your toes curl a bit because you think, oh God, that's ludicrous. Actually, that's where some of the most interesting ideas can be found.
Okay, no, that's good. I'm concentrating. So, how to give us some tips on how we can get our creativity flowing? Because I know a lot of people say the best ideas come to me when I'm not sat at my desk. But then we all sit there all day and fail to take a lunch break, and by like 3 or 4 o'clock we're like, I can't do anything else.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, I did a bit of research actually a few years ago with business owners, and I asked them, and often I will start kind of creative training with this question: where do you get your best business ideas and where do you get your worst? And there are commonalities amongst both. By far, the place where no one ever got great ideas was sitting at their desk. I mean, in the most unsurprising news ever. You are sitting at your desk, your screen is probably in front of you, you've got a keyboard there, everything is saying to you, do stuff, work, think, to-do list. Again, the worst mind state to be in for creativity. So never sit at your desk, go and find a nice comfy armchair, preferably by a window where you can do some daydreaming, look out, on a sort of a changing landscape. But there are ways to kind of cheat the process, and certainly in terms of training your brain to be more creative, I would call it a creative muscle. I mean, I imagine it literally as a muscle in my head, like a sort of a bicep. I've got a feeling that is just in my head. It's not actually a muscle in your brain, but it would be brilliant if it was. You need to warm it up, and you need to kind of strengthen it. So warming your creative muscle up, and I do this with clients before I start any sessions with them. We do a creative workout. I was doing a talk last week, and I got everyone to think of a polo mint and think of as many different uses for a polo mint as possible. And we had some amazing ideas. And one, it stretches, goes back to this divergent thinking idea. You're training your brain to think about ideas, building on other ideas, going off on tangents, thinking laterally, allowing those wild ideas to come out and kind of be verbalized. And also, if you're doing it in a group, it's a great way of generating laughter, because who doesn't laugh at the thought of a minty monocle for a cat, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And laughter is the best state you can be in for creativity as well. If you're in a foul mood, don't try and squeeze an idea out. Wait until you're feeling a little bit more on the lighter side of life.
Yeah.
So the creative workouts, and I've got stacks of them, and if you do that every morning before you sit down, you will train yourself to be more creative. You will have better, richer, broader ideas. And then when you're sitting down to solve a problem, in order to stop yourself thinking in the way you've always thought before, because we all have our own territory of kind of creativity, you've got to find little tools to kind of allow you to jump over the fence. Because it's one of the rare cases where the grass will be greener on the other side, and it will certainly be more creative. So again, lots of idea generation techniques. I mean, you just Google it. They're blooming everywhere. I've got loads of them on my website, to help force you to think in different ways. You've got to get out of your own way. And our own way always involves thinking critically, thinking logically, all that kind of stuff that we do every day to make our business work. You've got to forget all that, and just go with getting into that flow and, finding tools that you respond well to. And you will come up with ideas you won't have come up with if you just sat there staring at the page going, I need some ideas.
Yeah, I think that's, I do a lot of writing for myself and for other businesses. And quite often I find that if I'm trying to write and I get it takes me a while to get into flow and I get a block, quite often I'll go away for it might even be 5-10 minutes, and while I'm down there, I'm like in my head, and I come back and it's you know, it's suddenly a really quick process where it wasn't before. So cool. Well, I'm very conscious of time. I think Beth's, I don't know if anybody watching, we have got a few people watching, have got any questions or comments and things that we want to answer. Beth just said such a great point, how everyone is doing the same thing and how we can be different. And I think that's a really valid point, actually. I wrote a point down that I'm not going to share right now because we haven't got time, about some of the things that I think about social media, which I will be sharing, that maybe we don't all need to be going on.
Yeah, I mean, I think, just as a kind of a tuck in from that last point, if in your category everyone's a baritone, it's all lovely and harmonious, but you can't pick out a voice. You've got to pitch your voice. And I'm not talking about brand tone of voice. I'm just talking about the way you show up, the ideas you have, the content you share, all that, the marketing executions that you do. It's just got to be different. Otherwise people can't pick you out visually, orally, emotionally, and that's the purpose of marketing your brand.
I think that's a really good point. And I think one of the points to make here, kind of in summary, is that story and that brand can change over time, which is completely fine. We all evolve, we all learn. And I think we've talked a lot about testing something, taking it to market, evaluating whether it's worked, and not actually why it's worked, or if it hasn't worked, why is that, but also seeing the bigger picture. So what's that kind of ripple effect, and then kind of going back and revisiting and repurposing that. And I think it's having that constant route of ideas and remembering you haven't failed. It's just things need tweaking, things need improving, and absolutely learning from that process was a kind of sort of key point for me. I will do a post and share what our own key points are. I think as well, I'm going to summarize it because you summarized it so beautifully on Friday, is that, as you said, we're blind to our own value. So get outside of your business, find someone else, some other like-minded people or clients. So they're things that you can kind of bounce ideas off, kind of find that accountability, and just take the time to be creative. As you say, do some creative workouts when you sit down at your desk. I mean, I know, Jodie, you and I are both mums, and I know a lot of people watching here, and a lot of my clients are parents or mums, and we bounce from getting up in the morning, getting the kids ready, out the door, off to school, straight home, back at the desk. And I mean, I walk to school, and actually having that sort of 10-15 minutes to myself from drop off, I think really helps me get in a much better headspace than when I drive and I don't have that time.
Also, make the kids pay for their own existence. They are inherently genius at being creative. So ask your 6-year-old, your 8-year-old, your 10-year-old how they would solve your challenge. It's one of my creative thinking tools that I use. How would a 6-year-old or an 8-year-old solve this challenge? Even better if you've got a live one standing next to you. Make that school walk, really work hard for your business, Mel. Ask them questions, because we lose what they inherit. I mean, as if we weren't one once. Education pretty much squeezes every last drop of creativity, unless you're very tenacious in terms of your creativity. So before they've been sullied by data and progress and, kind of learning in that terrible way we make them all learn, squeeze their creativity for every kind of ounce of value. Because if you just listen to their approach and take it as they've got something that we've lost, and how can I apply that to my business, it will be amazing what you uncover.
That is a really interesting point. I'm sure my daughter, 9-year-old, would just tell me to go and look on YouTube.
If it's not on TikTok, it's not true.
Well, she's not allowed on TikTok, but that's a subject for another day. Jodie, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you, everybody who's watched. And if you're not connected with Jodie or myself, then please do so. And any questions you've got, if you watch this on playback, then do pop them in the chat and we'll be happy to answer.
Yeah.
But we will see you soon. Thank you.
Thanks, Mel.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Bye.